Javier sat motionless, watching the Spanish news coverage of the outbreak of a new deadly strain of the coronavirus that had put the world on high alert. The fear of another pandemic on people's faces only deepened his despair. "Has there been any update on the virus outbreak?" he asked, his voice steady yet heavy, as he spoke over the phone with his friend and trusted doctor, Manuel Marquez. "It's still in progress," Manuel replied. "Fortunately, since we can leverage existing pandemic research, this time the vaccine shouldn't take more than a month to be ready." "Our patients can't wait that long." "This is our top priority, Javi," Manuel assured him. "Good. Please arrange a visit for me to the quarantine site at South Miami Hospital. If I can't travel to Spain, I want to at least see the local patients personally," Javier said. Manuel hesitated. "A visit already? The virus is still highly contagious, and the risk is significant. I'm concerned for your health." "You and the medical staff are already on the front lines. I refuse to be one of those politicians who will be watching it from afar. We have to lead by example. Please arrange this visit for me." Manuel knew Javier's character too well. Once he made up his mind, there was no room for negotiation. Realizing there was no point in arguing, the doctor simply agreed before hanging up. Victor called Amelia, instructing her to go directly to South Miami Hospital and wait there. After informing her stepmother and taking leave from work, Amelia headed to the hospital. The atmosphere outside the hospital was heavy with apprehension. Families lingered near the entrance, casting hopeful glances toward the doors. Occasionally, a nurse or doctor hurried past, their expressions guarded, offering no solace to those waiting for news. Amelia arrived and met with Valentina, Martha, Sophie, and Charles. Whatever grievances she might have had with them before didn't matter to her now. The moment called for unity, for channeling all their strength and hope to ensure Rafael makes it through this. Martha tried her best to maintain her composure, but couldn't hide the desperation in her voice. "Did you find a way for me to see my son?" Amelia squeezed her hand tightly. "I believe so, Grandma. I think we'll get to see my dad, and when we do, we'll give him all the strength he needs to get better." Charles, standing nearby, smiled faintly. He admired the unwavering optimism of the woman he still loved. "Amen to that," he added. Sophie, however, remained skeptical. "Why did you say you think it'll work? You don't have any guarantees, do you? Don't tell me you dragged us all the way here for nothing." Charles stepped in before Amelia could respond, his voice steady and calm. "We don't have better options right now, so let's trust Amelia." Amelia looked at Charles, and their eyes met briefly. She saw a mix of emotions on his face that reminded her of a few days prior when he confessed his feelings for her at the golf course. She could sense the weight of his inner confusion, but she quickly looked away, refocusing on the task at hand. Suddenly, a stir began to ripple through the waiting crowd outside the hospital. Heads turned toward the street as if something big was about to happen. "The Prince of Spain is arriving," said a voice in the crowd. The hospital staff and medical teams immediately straightened up, hurriedly aligning themselves in neat rows, showing a mix of tension and reverence. Amelia froze in surprise. She hadn't truly expected Javier himself to make an appearance. Like many others in the room, Valentina seemed to momentarily forget the gravity of the situation, her mood lifting at the prospect of seeing the prince. "Sophie, are they talking about Prince Calderon? I've only ever seen him on TV. I can't believe I'll meet him in person. He's gorgeous." Sophie nodded, though the memory of the gala, where the prince had ignored her but given Amelia his full attention, still lingered bitterly in her mind. A line of sleek vehicles pulled up to the curb. Several bodyguards emerged, stepping forward to form a protective line along the street, creating a barrier to hold back the onlookers who were hoping to catch a glimpse of royalty. Amelia spotted Victor first, and then, surrounded by the crowd, There he was, Javier, wearing a mask but exuding his usual charismatic presence. Amelia noticed the crowd gravitating towards him, their energy lifted by his presence. Even in tough times, the prince's arrival seemed to infuse hope into the people. As she watched him being revered like a celebrity, she was reminded that their lives were worlds apart. At one point, Amelia realized she was standing only a few yards away from Javier, but it felt like miles. The crowd surged, pushing Amelia and her family aside. In the chaos, Amelia stumbled, almost falling, but Charles reached out with a firm hand on her waist and looked at her with concern. "Are you all right?" His warm touch grounded her amidst the turmoil. Amelia straightened herself, grateful yet slightly awkward in his hold. Once she steadied herself, a burning sensation on her back made her turn. Sophie was glaring at them, her eyes filled with resentment. Amelia instinctively took a step back, recalling that Sophie's bitterness, in this case, wasn't entirely without reason. Sophie noticed that this time the prince had also ignored Amelia, and she seized the opportunity to sow doubt. She walked over and wrapped her arms around Charles, her tone cutting as she spoke. "Now that the prince is here, there's no chance we'll be able to visit Dad. Thanks, Amelia, for giving us false hope. Don't you realize Grandma has suffered enough already?" Valentina took the chance to add her own spiteful remarks. "Exactly. I was hoping you could actually help. But now I see how foolish that was. If even Charles couldn't manage it, why on earth would you?" Before any further drama could unfold, the crowd parted. Dr. Manuel appeared, flanked by bodyguards, making his way directly to Amelia in full view of everyone. "Miss Rivera," he greeted politely. "Dr. Marquez, will my family and I be able to visit my father?" Amelia asked softly, aware of the many eyes watching them. Manuel hesitated, sensing the scrutiny. This wasn't the appropriate place to show favoritism toward a patient's relative. "Please, come with me." Manuel gestured for her to follow. Can my grandmother join us?" "We would never neglect Miss Rivera's family. Please, they may come as well." Valentina and Sophie exchanged incredulous looks, unable to believe what they were hearing. Together with Amelia, the family followed Manuel into the hospital, escorted by bodyguards. Martha leaned in and whispered, "What does your friend do?" "Oh, he's a doctor," Amelia replied simply. "Not just any doctor, I presume," Martha remarked shrewdly. Amelia smiled faintly, saying nothing more. She knew her grandmother was perceptive enough to piece things together. Manuel suddenly stopped. "Miss Rivera, you should change into a sterile protective suit. The prince has invited you to join him in the isolation ward." Valentina seized the moment. "Why is she the only one allowed? Can't I go in too? Just a quick selfie with the prince and I'll be out of his way. I don't even need the suit." Manuel shook his head. "The prince has only invited Miss Rivera. The rest of you may visit the monitoring room to check on Rafael's condition." "There are two Miss Riveras here," Valentina insisted. "Are you sure he didn't mean the cute one?" She pushed Sophie forward. Manuel didn't flinch. "He specifically requested Miss Amelia Rivera." "Thank you." Amelia spoke to her grandmother, ignoring Valentina. "Grandma, I have to go. You can head to the monitoring room, and I'll tell Dad you're all here." "All right," Martha said, her eyes moist as she held Amelia's hand tightly. "Tell him we're all here for him." "I will," Amelia promised. Valentina stepped forward with a fake smile. "Amelia, dear, be sure to ask your father for the password to his bank card. We haven't been able to use it since he left." Amelia sighed, baffled by her stepmother's shamelessness. So this was why Valentina had been so anxious all this time. She followed Manuel into the changing room. Once Amelia left, Martha and the others were invited into the monitoring room. Valentina continued her complaints. The prince must be out of his mind. If he were going to let family members visit a patient, at least he should choose the pretty one. And you know what else? Now that I've seen him in person, he's not even that handsome. Just ordinary. Sophie, humiliated and seizing with anger, couldn't hold back any longer. Mom, can you stop comparing me to Amelia? It's so annoying. Charles stepped in, pulling Sophie aside in an attempt to defuse the situation.
Sophie, you need to calm down. Maybe it's for the best that you don't see your dad. What if you catch the virus and it hurts the baby?
Sophie's expression immediately softened. She felt reassured that her fiancé still cared for her, especially after she had just witnessed his lingering attention on Amelia earlier in the lobby. At that moment, a nurse approached the family. Are you the Riviera family? I've been requested to draw blood from everyone who had been in contact with Rafael over the past few days to ensure none of you are carriers of the new strain. Valentina flinched visibly. Is that really necessary? I hate needles. I'm afraid it is, ma'am. Meanwhile, Martha remained pensive, her thoughts turning over Amelia's apparent influence. She approached Charles with a pointed question. Since you work in the prince's office, have you ever noticed whether he knows Amelia? Charles's chest tightened. He instinctively knew what Martha was hinting at. Before he could respond, Valentina interrupted, her tone dripping with disdain. Are you joking? The prince invited family members for publicity. Amelia was just lucky to be randomly chosen. Charles nodded, agreeing aloud, though uneasily.
As far as I know, there's no private connection between them.
Meanwhile, Amelia pushed open the door of the changing room and found Javier inside, being assisted into his protective suit. Unsure of the protocol, she hesitated. Come in, Javier said, his voice calm. He motioned to a nurse who handed Amelia a suit. Oh, thank you, Amelia murmured, intimidated. Once they were both suited up, Javier dismissed the staff.
Everyone please leave. Amelia, stay.
The room emptied within seconds, leaving them alone. Amelia gazed at Javier, overwhelmed with gratitude. Despite the weight of the world on his shoulders, he had still taken the time to help her. To find out what happens next, download the Pocket FM app in the next minute to get free access to all episodes of The Royal Accident for free.